Hey there, Rivermen fans. Welcome to another edition of Trudel's Take, presented by Premier Epoxy. Jason Rupp joined once again with Rivermen head coach Jean-Guy Trudel. It seems like it's been a while since the last time we talked because you're not traveling with the Rivermen anymore, and we've moved these episodes to now once every other week or so. You look good, man. How have you been? It's been a while.
I've been good, been busy. Enjoyed Thanksgiving with the family. Shout out to Lisa there and Chris in Detroit. That was awesome. I'm a lucky man this year. I get to prepare my team, have fun with my team, but then I have a great assistant coach that goes on the road, so the old man gets to stay home a little bit more.
Absolutely. Now, I got to ask, how was your Thanksgiving? What was your favorite and least favorite dish of your Thanksgiving meal?
My favorite dish was all of them. My sister-in-law, we had so much food we could have fed an army. So every single meal for 3 straight days was unbelievable. My least favorite was probably all of them also because I ate way too much and probably gained 10 pounds. So
you don't look it. You don't look it. I don't know what you're talking about gaining 10 pounds.
It was a tough one, but it was all worth it. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Now, I have to ask, because we asked a bunch of the Rivermen what their least favorite Thanksgiving dish was. And Tristan's is so funny. He takes a whole second to think about it, and he says, mac and cheese. And just walks out. And then I ask him afterwards, like, what do you have against mac and cheese? And he says the weirdest thing to me. He says, I like mac and cheese generally, just not on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he's my son, but he's a different bird. So what can I say?
So in other words, no comment.
No comment.
Sounds good. Well, Guy, the Rivermen go 1-2 in their first major road trip of the season. 2 tough losses to Knoxville and Huntsville before they come back and get a come-from-behind victory on Friday. I want to start with that victory first. Put that under things you like to see, come-from-behind victories. I remember talking to Eric about it. He said that it showed a lot of resiliency of that team able to come from behind multiple deficits and win it in the third period. To your more trained eye, looking at the film, what did you see?
It wasn't pretty, but at the same time, it's growing. We're growing as a hockey team. It's our first long road trip. It's our first 3-3. The weekend before was our first 2-2. We haven't played a lot of games this year, so there's going to be a little bumps in the road, learning about ourselves. I always say you always learn a lot when things are not going as well, and I think those 2 losses in a row kind of revealed a little bit on some character and what we have to change, but it also revealed that we understand that with the leadership we have, we can come back in the third game and win a game also when we're exhausted. So there's always some good things to everything you see, but there's also things that we had to address, and that's what a season's for. I mean, you're building towards a playoff, not only physically, but you're building mentally, and you're kind of understanding a little bit more of players when you go into different situations. So it's important for us coaches to make sure we see all that, and then we kind of fix it right away and find the right pieces or what we need and when things didn't work a certain way. So it's a big puzzle that you keep working on, not only, like I said, physically, but mentally. How to approach certain guys, what happens when they lose, what happens when they don't play a lot. So they're all great situations to learn, and just me and Eric are learning as a coaching staff with our new players, because when you talked about leadership, we're with a lot of our players, we're at the level 1 of leadership, which is right now all we have, me and Eric, is a title of position of leadership. And so we have to make sure we build those relationships, and you build those relationships by understanding what you have. And a lot of times, the hard conversation comes through losses, and then you learn a lot about characters of some guys, and some guys step up, some guys can't handle it. So everything that happens in a season for me, it's always a positive because it's always learning.
Put a pin in that because I want to circle back to it, but I want to get back to the Friday game real quick and touch on a key point. I thought Alec Hagaman had one of his better games of the season this year on that Friday game.
Yeah, he's starting to skate, and you got to understand, he's old. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
He only played. I always say this: there's nothing that prepares. Ags is in phenomenal shape. I mean, he's a beast. But there's nothing that prepares you in the summer or any time for a season. And especially with Hags, he did not think he's going to play, so he did not have training camp. He started pretty much right away. He skated 2 days and he started right away. So for him to get his legs underneath him is going to take a little while, and we know that. And Hags is. We always talk, we laugh at each other about it. He's always been kind of a slow starter. It always takes him 5-6 games before he gets going. I still think he was playing really good hockey. I just know that the level that he has in him, and he's starting to show it. I mean, he's starting to take over games, and not only on the ice, but I think leadership-wise, he's feeling comfortable again in his role. That the whole assistant coach things is over now for him, so he's starting to feel, like he used to, and guys look up to him. And when he's going, usually guys go also.
What do you think it says about this team and the team's power play that Hagaman's the leader in power play goals on this roster?
It means that we're still finding ourselves. We are, and he's going to be, he's a power play guy, so he's going to get some goals, but I still think we're finding ourselves. We're tweaking some things. We're trying different things. We have a few new setups that we're trying. So, like I said, a season, what fans see a lot of times is things that, we have to tweak things all the time to get ready for every single team. Because every time you play a different team, you are actually doing pre-scouts on them for eventually if you see them in the playoffs. So you're learning about not only your players, but the other players. So I'm not too worried about anything. We keep building here in Peoria. I'm proud of the boys. I mean, we're, it's been a tough weekend, but we're still 8-2-1. So it's not, it's
look
not,
at the big picture here.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Right. No, the Rivermen are still in good position standing wise. They've got games on pretty much all teams in the SPHL, including all the teams in front of them. And they've only lost 2 legit games in regulation time. Granted, those 2 were back-to-back. And my theory on the Knoxville game is because the team didn't go to the Crepe Place as a whole.
Yeah,
beforehand. That's my theory.
Mine, it's more like so as a coach, you try to balance preparation. Pre-scout wise on both teams we played last weekend, I thought less would be better. So we prepared them, but we're still in the part of the season. It's more 80-90% more of what we do because we're not even where we need to be. So it's a lot of what we want to do, and I prepared them a little less to, I didn't want them to overthink, and I think that's on me also. Maybe a little bit more preparation. We could have gave up 1 or 2 goals left, and that's on me, so I'll take the blame for that. And this week we're going to Pensacola. I think that we know exactly what Pensacola does, and hopefully we can execute in those situations.
The Rivermen also had a lot of injuries. You got guys like Jordan Ernst on a 30-day IR, Mike Gillette now on the 30-day IR with an upper body injury. How challenging is it as a coaching staff to balance and juggle those guys who you certainly miss from the front and the back end with, say, bringing new guys in or maybe putting guys in positions that they're not as familiar with?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's learning. That's what I'm talking about. It's, you got Ryan Nolan, you got Gillette, you got Ernst, you have V that was out. You learn a lot from other players because they have to step in different roles and bigger roles, and you see if they can handle it. And that's what the great thing about injuries. I told you this for years. We don't make excuses. I see a lot of teams out there. Oh, that's why we're losing now. We don't make excuses in Peoria. Once they're injured, they're off the team. We got to find the players necessary to try to win. And with those players, you might find a diamond in the rough. So you might have started the season with A. Now you just added 2 guys that can actually go and do the right things all the time. And that's the great thing about it. It's a bad and a good because you're losing some great players, but at the same time, you might discover 1 or 2 diamonds in the rough with them that are going to step up in really big roles. And now you're like, man, we can't live without those 2 players. And all of a sudden, you're a way better team when everybody comes back.
Exactly. I remember the championship year, and Alec Grissom was that kind of guy.
Yeah, we had a lot of that. And that's why, I got that actually from, Mike Babcock. I know there's a lot of controversy on him, but he had a special thing on him, an hour segment on him. And he's like, when guys are injured, they're not part of my team anymore because I got to win with the players I have.
Right.
So I got to put the new guys or whatever guys in the best situation possible to see if they can succeed. And if they do, then we just gain some great players when everybody comes back. So for me, I see it as sometimes a positive. It gives those guys also a mental, because a pro season is a long season. And sometimes, as much as injuries are not fun, it gives you a little bit of a mental rest. You refresh, and we talk about here with the plan with Allison that every time a guy is injured, he has to come back in better shape than he was when he got injured. So they get to work and they come back stronger. And now, like I said, you might have had 1 or 2 addition to the group that you didn't expect, and they jumped in here. And we had some new guys right now. Hopefully, they can jump in and do the job.
I want to go back to the coaching aspect of it. Obviously, Eric Levine is in his first year just coaching in generally as your assistant. He's been leading the bench on the road, in my opinion, doing a fantastic job doing it. He's really learning and growing basically on the job. What were some of the lessons that you learned in your first years as coach that you are imparting to him or helping him learn now that he's in his first year as a coach here?
Not letting your emotions get in the way, understanding the plan. I was an emotional guy, and then that's why they call it experience. I think experience is something that is absolutely the most important thing in life, and people don't talk about it enough because you learn so much every single year, every single day. You learn how to approach, how to build relationships. You did so many mistakes that you learn from them, and I'm lucky enough that I made those mistakes. So now, if I can just give a little bit of that knowledge to Eric, or I always call it my crew. When Dan Bremner started, he called me a lot, and when Dave, same thing with Dave. So if I can just bring a little bit of that knowledge, so they don't have to go through the mistakes I made, because when I got here, I was green as green can be. And, you always think you're a good coach and you think that you do things the right way. But over the years, you learn that you made a lot of mistakes and you try to improve on them. And then hopefully I can bring that knowledge to Eric, that he can have a successful career in whatever coaching endeavors he wants to do.
I know it's early, but in what aspect do you think has Eric really grown the most as a coach?
Confidence-wise, it's hard, because once you start coaching, inside of you know that you understand the game of hockey. When thing flashes really fast in front of you in a game, and you have to make split-second decisions and things that sometimes are going to be, I always say, as a coach, you love and you build relationship, but at the same time, you got to have the hard conversations, or you got to make the hard decisions that you're going to take away confidence from a player here and there. But that's where you learn as a coach that, you can explain after the game, have a great conversation about it, but you have to do what's necessary to win a hockey game. And I think he's getting to that point of feeling comfortable enough to lead the ship. Yeah. And to make the decision necessary to make sure we bring home a win that night.
Look at Friday, for example. Rivermen gave up a couple of tough goals. He immediately makes a goaltender swap. Very Jean-Guy Trudel-esque, if I may say. And that galvanized the team because, Nick Latinovic is one heck of a goaltender. Just didn't have it that night. And Brendan Brawley, who was coming off a fantastic game on the previous evening on Thursday, Thanksgiving, he comes in and he backstops the team. That kind of shook him up a little bit and eventually led to a victory.
Yeah, and that's what, little things like that. And the goaltending, I don't think Nick was bad. No. I just think the team was flat. And then as a coach, sometimes you see that. You're like, okay, we're going to make a little change. You can have that conversation with Nick after the period and explain why you did that, and it had nothing to do with him. So he keeps his confidence, but it gives a little jolt of energy to the team and saying, man, we let our goalie down. And that's the thing about great teams is they want to be great teammates. They don't want to let each other down. And what they do, usually you have a reaction. And I think he did a great job, Eric, of pulling the plug when it was time. And again, I don't think it was Nick's fault. I think it was more that the team needed a jolt. And it was a great decision. And Brawls is playing great, so came in and did what we had to do. And we had a big win. And then after that, because when you're at the pro level, yes, you want to develop those guys, but at the same time, when the games start, you're here to win. You're here to win hockey games, and you have to make decisions that are hard. And I think Eric is starting to understand that. And it's hard to go from a player to try to be the chief leading the ship, because I said, it's hard to have those conversations, and it's hard at the beginning to make sure you make those decisions that are going to take away some of the success of the player. So it's really tough, but you have to do it, and I think he's getting a lot better at it.
Speaking on players making transitions, obviously you've heard the news, Patrick Kane going to the Detroit Red Wings. What do you think of that? I want to get curious of that move because you got a lot of folks and friends and even some family up in Michigan. I'm sure they're very excited the Red Wings are getting the Blackhawks as main guy for a long time, no longer with the Blackhawks. Hank Kane hasn't been with the Blackhawks for a while. But Patrick Kane moved to the Detroit Red Wings. I didn't have that on my bingo card this year.
Yeah, well, they're playing well. They're a young team, and I think Steve Yzerman knows a lot more than I do about his team. So I think if he signed him, it's because he understands there's something left in the tank for Patrick Kane, and he's probably healthy now. And he's still, puck possession-wise, he's still one of the best in the league when it comes to entries and puck possession. I think I think they probably understand that they have enough sandpaper or guys that do the little things defensively. Because with Patrick Kane, you're not going to get defense, you're not going to get physicality, but you're going to get a guy that's going to have puck possession. You're going to get a power play guy, and that's probably what Detroit needs. It so, and it's a good fit for I think Kane also being from the East. He's not going too far. He's an American player playing in Detroit, a great organization, great pass. So I think Yzerman is starting to build like he did in Tampa. I think he's building a powerhouse there, and he feels like probably needs a few more pieces. And I don't think it's the last move the Red Wings are going to do, but good for my family over there in Michigan because he's still entertaining. He's Kaner. I mean, he's Showtime. Yeah, so he's still entertaining, and like I said, those GM knows a lot more about their team than I do. But I like the way the Red Wings are playing. Right now.
And Kane's now back with the Brinket too.
That's big. That's big in certain ways. Defensively, I don't know if it's going to help that team much, but if they play with Larkin, they'll have Larkin do all the job.
Let Larkin do all the defensive work.
He'll do all the work. Yeah, and then they'll be fine the other way. But yeah, you're getting some offense for sure out of those two.
Yeah, you almost think and hope that the Blackhawks-Red Wings rivalry can get back to where it used to be. Like I remember when I was growing up. Back then, I mean, everyone hated Detroit with a passion. I mean, they're in the same conference, same division. They played each other a million times a season, and it seems like if you wanted to get out of the first 2 rounds of playoffs, you eventually had to get through Detroit.
Yeah,
it was one of those things.
I think it's going to be Detroit still, but I think the Blackhawks still have a while.
They do.
They got a phenomenal centerpiece, but
they got to build around it.
They got to build around it, and it's going to take a while because I think they're pretty empty even in their talent pool. Also, I know we all think they have. I don't think they're that full in their talent pool. And like I said, they know what they're doing, those GMs. So I'm sure Davidson is going to build a good crop of young kids. And once I think Bedard really starts dominating, I think a lot of free agents are going to want, because Chicago's a beautiful city. So I think a lot of players, really high-end players, are going to want starting to migrate there, but I think it's still going to be 3-4 more tougher years for the Blackhawks, unfortunately, until they kind of get back to where they were.
Right. Well, you've been around hockey long enough, both in terms of a player and a coach. You've been around in a bunch of locker rooms. When you are on teams with, that one guy's the marquee guy, does that affect the room in any way, shape, or form, or is that guy just one of the guys?
Nah, he's just one of the guys in the locker room as long as he's a good person.
Right.
So if he's a good person, a good teammate, he's only one of the boys. And we, as fans and as people on the outside, you see those people as big stars. When you get to an NHL, AHL locker room, no matter if he's the biggest star in the world, those guys are just one of the boys. And after the weekend, they want to have a beer with the boys. Like nothing changes to anything you see here. It's just that the outside world see him as a big star. Yeah. But I know Connor Bedard, and I know the type how he was raised, and I'm sure really in his mind he knows how good he is, but he's thankful to be in the NHL, and I'm sure he's just a great teammate because that's the way he was brought up in Major Junior in Canada and now in the NHL.
Case in point, I saw a recent interview, like they had a small kid interviewing Bedard, and they asked him, it's like, when we play hockey and we're in the locker room, we take the ice from our skate and we like flick it at our teammates. Do you guys do that still at the pro level? And Connor Bedard just like, oh, not anymore.
Yeah. He's like I said. I think he's a great teammate, and he's a great person. So I think in 3-4 years when he starts because I really believe the kid's going to dominate at one point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think the free agents are going to start wanting to play with him, and that's where the Blackhawks with the prospect pool they're going to start building here, and then with those guys, I think in about 4 years, 5 years, they should be back there.
Yeah, and it's going to make the Blackhawks a destination, places where players are going to want to come play, just like Peoria, for example.
And that's the thing. When you win a lot and we have a certain type of culture, people want to play there. And then the only difference is in the NHL, you tax brackets and all those things are kind of important to those players. So a lot of people now are going to the Dallas and to the Floridas, and but I still think Chicago is a great city, and I do believe that in about 4 or 5 years it'll be good.
Absolutely. When people talk about the Peoria Rivermen to me, like I'll tell you a conversation I had with a fellow broadcaster of mine. They asked me, how is it that Peoria just constantly reloads on players? They always have good guys, and they always have good depth, and guys just want to go and play in Peoria. And I say it starts with the culture that is in the locker room, and it starts with the type of players that are on the leadership core on this team. And again, it all starts with guys like Jean-Guy Trudel, guys like Eric Levine, guys like Alec Hagaman. Do you agree with that sentiment, or is there something deeper as to why people want to come here to Peoria and play, not just for you, but play for the Rivermen?
Well, I think we started a culture.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that people are continuing that culture.
Mm.
So I always say leave the jersey in a better place than it was.
Yes.
So the Eric Levines, the Alec Hagaman, and now the Wilkies and stuff like that is when other players are coming in, we allow players to be themselves. We love them the way they are. We just try to tweak them as a hockey player and make them the best hockey player possible. But for us, we understand that we're all different, and we're all gonna, we always cheer for each other. And that comes with, like you said, I know culture is a thing we throw out there a lot,
Yeah.
but we really believe in it, and we make sure when our players are here that they feel really part of a family and something bigger than themselves. And I think we're all the same. I always say as humans, like once you have that feeling, you want to come back, you want to be there, and I think that's the biggest thing we have in Peoria. We honestly. I don't know, Jackie Moon said it best. Everybody loves everybody. So we just do it every single day, and we try to support, help each other. Even when our careers are over, we continue to have those relationships with our ex-players and make sure if they need anything, we're always there for them. So people kind of migrate towards that type of culture and want to be part of a winner every single year.
I know culture is a big buzzword when dealing with sports, especially if you have maybe new coaching regimes. Michigan State football over here, full admission. But how hard or how difficult is it to establish that culture, or is it really just a matter of just getting good people who want to do the right thing?
You got it. Whoever you bring in the front door. If you bring in good people, you're building it, because good people don't have those big egos that they think it's too cool to do certain things. Because we do certain things that we're transparent, we're vulnerable in certain things we do. So it opens up a lot of doors to build relationship, because we all know we have our different issues. We put it on the table and we help each other with those issues every single day. And when you bring those good peoples, they believe in that process. And once everybody believes in a certain process, that's when you're talking about a culture. So I always say culture. I think John Hines said it yesterday, actually. Culture and identity really drives what you're going to do on the ice. You know what I mean? So, and we're lucky enough over the years, I think, having Hags, Levy, and stuff like that. Now they brought it to the Wilkie, the Pietrowski, the Bearsy. Now all those guys, when the new guys come in, it's just a continuation of what we try to build here in Peoria, and hopefully it's going to be like that as long as we're here.
Hopefully it's going to be like that even more so when we go to Pensacola, the Rivermen taking on the Ice Flyers here this weekend for a Friday-Saturday road tilt. A lot of traveling last couple of weeks for the Rivermen, man.
It's good for us, man. It is. It's when, like I said, experience. Everything is a big plus if you take it the right way. Everything's a positive, and I think we needed that. We need to go play a great hockey team in Pensy that haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
I think we need to have another challenge, and it's fun. It's challenging. Like you said, we're missing 4 of our best players. Who cares? We need that. Like it's fun. And win or lose, we're going to get better, and we're going to learn from ourselves, and we're just going to keep building for when the playoff happens. We'll be ready.
What do you want to learn about your team from this weekend? Win or lose, like you said.
I want to see a response. I thought we had an average weekend when it comes to selfish. Everybody's got selfish instincts in them. And I believe we had an average weekend. I think it came out a little too much. I think we talk about the 95%, the long shifts, the block shot. We did nothing good when it comes to the 95%. So that's when I always say you become a little selfish, so you don't think about the right process. You think about yourself a little too much, and we could see it on film. Our body language was average. And all the things we talk about, the little things about the 95%, we were very average at it. And our players, that's a great thing about our room. They know that. Right. We understand. We had that conversation. Now, what are we going to do about it? So I want to see guys just have a response. I'm not talking about a win. I never talk about wins. I'm talking about playing the right way as a team. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. If we have that response, we had growth. So last weekend was worth our 2 losses. So
Playing the Rivermen way.
playing the Rivermen way. That there's only one way, man.
There's only one way.
One way is the Rivermen way, and the Rivermen way is people caring about each other and being a great teammate. When I mean being a great teammate, meaning a winger that comes out. He's a great teammate to the goalie. He blocks that shot for the goalie. So that's what we talk about all the time, and we celebrate that in Peoria, and hopefully we can celebrate a lot of good of those, that 95% there in Pensacola this week.
Hopefully the Ribbon will be celebrating a lot in Pensacola, Florida. Face-off set for 7:05 p.m. both Friday and Saturday night. You can catch all the action on Flow Hockey and on Mixler. Again, 7:05 puck drop this Friday and Saturday night. Guy, thank you so much for your time. We're going to miss you, bud.
Miss you too, buddy.
I miss you so much. For Jean-Guy Trudel, I'm Jason Ruff. This has been Trudel's Take, presented by Premier Epoxy.